We begin with the Latenight Speechbubble logo coming on the screen as a theme song, and the invisible hands begin playing. From the bottom of the studio wooden floorboards, a panel opens up, and coming down from below it is Mike's body without his head, pulling up dance moves on the now flashing dance floor. Up above him, the camera's turned up and see that Mike's head is now hanging from the ceiling like it was a giant disco ball with multiple mirrors. And Mike just pulls off some good dance moves for how limp he is. He eventually goes flat, like even does the worm. And eventually the head falls and lands on top of his head, spins around a bit, and then he points towards the audience saying, "Your host with the most at your behest, Mike Standee, your service." And he walks over to the little platform where his desk is, sits behind the desk chair, and the platform lowers down, the panels close up, and the intro finishes. I always fucking think this thing is way shorter than it is. Hello everyone, welcome to Late Night Speechbubble. My name is J/Mega Marine, and this is another interview. Oh boy. Alright. Getting into it, Mike looks at the audience and specifically says, "Welcome everybody. Tonight we'll be having an interview with, well, they say that ravens are the trickiest of birds. Yet tonight we're bringing forth somebody who has definitely seen it all and holds a little bit of relation to them. Welcome everybody to the interview chair, Mr. Yukon." And Juby, whatever Juby was just doing, they're no longer doing that.
Oh, I have a very fun idea for what he was doing. Because Jubilee is a horrible, terrible bird who, while he does have a piano at home, sometimes it's fun to break into theaters. And one moment he is walking in stage left on an abandoned theater, and the next he is entering stage left of Mike's studio.
Mm-hmm. Dressed in a completely new outfit, might I add, if you'd like to post it.
Yes. Let's get that posted. There it is. It is very fancy. It is burgundy and sparkles under the lights. And his glasses have changed. They are much fancier now. And he blinks a bit. Very confused. I'm like, oh, well, this is not what I was expecting to be doing today. All right.
Mr. Yukon. Or Jubilee Yukon. Welcome to the Late Night Speechbubble.
Yes. And he'll walk forward, looking about, and quite primly sit down in the chair, pulling his wings behind himself.
You can see the audience members.
You can?
Yeah, you can.
Delightful. He looks out there and is just like, oh boy, I need to look in the gallery now. Oh, he sees people he recognizes and is just like, oh, so it's one of those days. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Mr. Jubilee, Mike Standee, myself, and he takes out a hand that extends outwards to shake.
Yeah, and Jubilee will shake Mike's hand.
Now I'm sure you're... Sorry, go ahead. No. I gotta remember that you're also a wordsmith, so I gotta give you a chance to actually talk.
It's all good. it is very obvious. Juby is kind of hamming it up a little bit, and is very haughty in how he is presenting himself right now. It is very much fitting how dressed up he is, how he's acting.
Has Juby noticed that they're dressed differently?
Yes, he has. He noticed it. Like, you would see, there was a beat where he was like, huh? Looked down before he came over to Wog, and then very quickly changed how he was acting to fit, like, oh, huh, outfit change, scene change. Okay, let's go. All right.
Taking it in stride.
Well, I don't see why I wouldn't. I am quite a talented performer. It would be a shame to disappoint my audience.
Yes, you are, according to our research. Now, tonight, the live studio audience won't be the only ones joining us. And you see a TV from behind you, Juby, lowers down, and we see the ethereal gallery.
Oh, joy. Hello, gallery. Hello, everyone. Oh, it's so much fun to have you all as well. Oh. Yes, don't be disappointed. Don't be disappointed. I know I haven't been wearing my pin as often. I've been a bit busy. I did tell you all I was composing for Animus. It was... I can't trust you lot not snitch.
Now, let me know. Let's not have the entire theater gallery hug you up all to yourself.
Yes.
I do happen to have some questions for you, Juby.
Of course.
So, let's begin. Juby, you are our research says that you are an eccentric person. Definitely considered yourself a trickster, and, as you said, performer. Didn't you? But that wasn't all that you were originally, was it? I'd like to start off with a simple question. What was it like growing up in Crowhelm?
Delightful. I get to roll shit now. This is so much fun. I knew this was going to happen. This is great. Okay. Fun.
Now, I will say, if you don't answer truthfully, he will show the truth on the screen.
Yeah, there's also, Juby is trying to keep his poker face. And keep up his act here. However, that was a 6. It's decent. It's still a 16. But there's a noted pause and blink. Before he kind of leans and rests his chin on his palm, as he looks over and is like, now, my, that is something I am not often asked. Well, it wasn't exactly impressive. As most backstories go, it was a small town, everyone really knew each other. Nothing exactly happens there, there's no plot in Crowhelm. That's honestly about it.
Truly?
No
plots in Crowhelm at all?
Oh no. There's... you could ask about 1,000 different stories there, and everyone has their own version of it, but something about the local deity's protection keeps the plot away.
You know, for having no plot, you sure did run off to your father a lot, just to make sure you were safe. How is your old man Raven? Still keep in contact?
Oh, yes, actually. He is, well, he's doing old man things. It's whatever old people do, I guess. We write often. I visited. We'll meet up for lunch now and again, you know. Things people do. It's not exactly like I live there anymore, and he has his own life.
I have a question. This is for Noodle. Do you have
Mm-hmm.
control over Raven?
Yes, I do.
Okay. On the screen, tell me what Raven is doing right now.
Raven is at home. He is probably right now. You see a sparring area, probably. It's clearly well used. The dust and sand of the ground is stirred up, showing he's probably been training for about an hour or so. With there's other figures at the home. One of them looking slightly off, but almost exactly like said old bird man. But it seems very peaceful, and like whoever was there was chilling while Raven is honing his skills.
Honestly, the town seems like quite a nice place. Might have to visit on my vacation.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop you. Just don't start trouble there.
Oh, believe me, where I go, I don't start trouble. Trouble comes to me. Now, speaking of trouble, why didn't you tell me the kind of trouble you and your little brother got up to back in those days?
Oh, dare I snitch on my darling little brother and our shenanigans? Oh, that would be so terrible of me. Well,
The statute of limitations, I'm sure, is passed.
oh, it absolutely has. We got up to most everything you could think of. Oh, stars. Well, the better question is, what didn't we do? There was all sorts of chaos. We did gain a bit of a reputation getting known as the crime boys.
For a place that doesn't have a lot of plot, you seem to be bringing a lot of trouble to yourself, weren't you?
Oh, it doesn't need to be plot to be a menace.
By the way, as you're saying this, like multiple of your not pictures, but like actual like footage of you and and your little brother like doing like tiny misbehaving crimes.
It is.
Goes onto the screen.
Yeah, there is so much chaos. They have stolen things. It's food, trinkets, causing absolute havoc. There was one thing that they did, like you see them like shaking something onto like all of the towels in a sauna, a bathhouse that's for sale, and then you see a bunch of people running out that have been like dyed all different colors, and like they look like tourists. Some of them are real kind, some are toons, and then you see Timmy and Jubilee just like snickering in the background, hiding and high-fiving each other, and just that kind of harmless, complete nonsense, making absolute nuisances of themselves.
Ah, young childhood fun, isn't it?
Oh, good times. Good times.
It's sad that those good times don't always last forever, do they? And the screen shifts to a different day.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
A night where certain individuals harass a local innkeeper, and Juby tried to step up.
Yeah, there is a gangly bird who looks no more than 17, puffing its chest up, trying to act. It seems almost forced, trying to be like, hey, you should leave them alone, and someone who is clearly not used to the act they're putting on. And this teenager very quickly gets chased off by three very rowdy sorts. And instead of what most people have gotten used to Juby, and he is very quiet, those ear feathers of his tilting down and back as he watches this with a hand over his mouth and his eyebrows furrowed. As that young teen bolts home to that same home that was seen not long ago, now quiet, lit, very dimly. And it cuts off a bit after Juby frantically slides open a door calling for his dad. And it instead cuts to a bedroom later, completely dark. A familiar young figure crashed on the bed, sprawled out, snoring away, Timmy. And an open window, and Jubilee in a yellow sweater with only his guitar case strapped over his back, looking upset and nervous, then slips out the window without a word. And that would be where the screen cuts.
A young boy who cried wolf one too many times. I'd definitely say one of your lowest points in your life, wasn't it?
One of them. Yes, that's... admittedly, not my best.
Oh, you know, we all make mistakes. It happens.
Yeah, yes, right. Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't definitely sugarcoat this. The next couple of years definitely seemed like... Well, I'm not allowed to curse on TV. But you definitely met some interesting folks on your time then. How is the young and Pritch Twine doing? I'm sure the theater gallery's enjoying the show.
Well, as far as I'm aware, Pritch has been in and out. I haven't exactly stopped by to visit. I'd certainly hope he's doing well. The gallery are chatty, as we can see. Hello, gallery, yes. He very quickly takes the excuse, thank you, and gives a short little wave to the screen where the gallery's messages are showing.
If you'd like to read some of those, because I don't have it open.
Yeah, they're mostly saying hi and waving.
Good shit, good shit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do tell me, how did you come to know Pritch Twine? Somebody who's a god like him has a godly business. It's understandable that he'd be busy.
Well, that's a bit of a funny story, actually. Turns out, not every church to deities are as I had originally thought them to be, you know, all temples and something haughty, something you would, you know, assume to be associated with the divine. No, it was a particularly rainy and, well, shit day. I don't care about the rules of TV. I'm going to swear. Good luck. Have fun with that, censors. And
Activate senses.
He just looks a little smug there. And, you know, the door was open. It wasn't locked. I just walked inside, and there he was. And admittedly, I may have misheard him a time or two. Instead of being 130, I may have thought he was just, you know, 30, someone running a bit of a scam. Instead of, you know, an actual church.
Oh no, he's definitely a god.
Yes, I have since been made aware of that. I simply thought he was someone who was very successful at his con of having a gamer church.
Quite. No gentle stealing from a godly home. No. You just walked in and they offered you a place.
Well, I mean, I was offered a pin, and I mean, I was rather drenched. I wasn't exactly thinking about anything except for, you know, not being in the rain. That was the primary goal. I wasn't exactly thinking about stealing anything from there.
Do you mean this? And you see one of his hands appears behind your head, and he pulls out the pin of yours.
Yeah, That's a fun pin. Funny enough, compared to other Twitch pins, it is a little bit beat up. It's whole again, but there is a crack in the enamel, and the color on the back of the pin is a little heat warped. He's like, and Juby does reach to grab that from Mike. Like, yes, that's mine. Thank you. I don't know how the heck you did that. Don't do that again.
It's a little magic trick, my friend. When you have as much free time as I do, you pick up a couple of tricks.
Magical pecking bullshit. Alright. Yes. This pin.
Now, despite your travels and your beliefs, you definitely didn't give up most of your hobbies. Using the words hobbies loosely, as we see on the screen, pickpocketing, lock picking, gentle swiping, lots of like just little bits of stealing through your homeless years.
Yeah. They certainly get better, and there is definitely a lot of cheating at cards. There's several notable scenes in this casino that's decked out in red, black, and gold, and looks incredibly extravagant, where he is very often cheating at the games and stealing a lot of money.
Now let's hope they don't catch this show tonight.
Oh, the owner is well aware of what's happened. We had a bit of a on and off rivalry. It's fine. It's all in good fun.
A little bit of underhanded tactics is quite easy when you don't have an arm.
Well, seeing as I have two, I did need to get quite good at them.
Now, I've definitely had plenty of villains on my show, especially in the past couple of episodes, but you don't consider yourself that anymore, would you? What made you give you that lifestyle that you so sought after in those early years? And we see scenes of... Yubi was a villain, right? Would Yubi consider themselves a villain?
Yeah, he did.
So what crimes did he commit that you would consider evil that would be shown here?
Well, aside from the stealing, there's cons shown that different things where people, their lives were ruined because of his actions. You see him gaining wealth and living in comfort, and going from having been on the run and just having to steal like food and getting kicked out of places like a stray, to having this fancy high-rise apartment for a bit and like a wall of fancy guitars that he does, for the members of the audience, very clearly look incredibly nostalgic when he sees that wall. But juxtaposed, there's scenes of different people having their hearts broken, having businesses ruined, places burnt down, just so much tragedy following in his wake that he seems entirely oblivious to.
I mean, it seems like you were living quite the lifestyle. Quite swanky, if you ask me. And he pulls out one of those guitars from underneath his desk. And he leans back and begins strumming it.
We get to roll another thing. Because those guitars were taken at a very specific point. That is a 31, he's fine. He does not reach out, but there is a glint that does go across the shades of his glasses. And his smile stretches just a bit wider than it was before, and it is very set in place, like the frame has been frozen to keep the smile. Like, Well, when you think you're taking from people who have too much and giving to those who don't have anything, i.e., yourself, it is easy to ignore the consequences at the time.
What was it that you called yourself? A Robin Hood figure? I believe Robin Hood gave to others, didn't he? You were just giving to yourself.
Well, myself, those associated with me, but I mean, things happen. You get caught up in it.
Right, right. It all reached a climax, didn't it?
At which point, Juby does look away from the screens, but there does play something of.
I will say, if there are any children in the audience, I would suggest you turn away.
Of an office. And we see Jubilee again, going into this office that is marked with a J on the door. But it's not a J that would have been seen in anything like. It's nothing familiar. It's a different script. And he goes in and starts looking through these filing cabinets and pulls out something, and as he's reading it over, his face drops on the screen. And then the sound of sirens kicks up in the background, and then it cuts. Yes, seems that someone ratted out the operation.
Oh. An intern that day, I do believe you died.
Oh, I don't know who specifically it was. It's not exactly like I had time to go looking or really wanted anything to do with any of that afterwards.
Oh, really? You don't remember? I don't think ambition would appreciate being forgotten. And for the rest of the audience, instead of hearing the word ambition, your character hears whatever they desire most in one word.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. There's this almost static to the words. It's not right, and the gallery specifically, the ethereal gallery, here's the letter X instead of any specific word. But Juby's ear feathers kind of flick and he furrows his brows. It's like, I don't think I know anyone with that name.
We have very good researchers. Now, let's move on from this era of your life. I mean, it's a new one. You're here now. You definitely got past that rough edge.
Yes.
So, talk to me. You've had plenty of misadventures in the past couple of years. You've definitely been to a lot of places. Are there any you'd like to talk about, or you know what? How about we start with Requiem? What was that place like?
Well, and he does glance over to a definitely person-shaped lady in the audience, who he gives a grin to. It was certainly one of the most beautiful places I have ever been. It's utterly fascinating. It's some unfortunate things going on with myself at the time, but I don't think I will ever find another place quite like it. So steeped in history, an entire culture lost to time. Preserved perfectly out in a desert. Just waiting to be found and rediscovered.
We see pictures of this landscape, as well as a commercial for a travel brochure for it.
my god. She just kind of laughs. Because it is, you are definitely not getting there. There is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. There's guardians, there's a massive sandstorm. It's like, good luck!
Any other places you'd like to talk about? I'm sure you've been to plenty of interesting locales.
Well, I could probably make up for, showing off how I embarrassed his security detail. There's a place out in the desert. It's called Las Aluvia. Fascinating city, has good casinos. There's a bakery out there that I would recommend anyone going to. They have far better pastries than anywhere else I've been. And I have been quite a few places.
Right. This is with your earlier years, the homeless era, with Nympha and Flory.
Yes, the Heart Sisters. I kept contact with them, but yes. Those two are fantastic bakers, and even if certain individuals believe that, Peckett, I'm slandering it. The Painted Lady does not have superior cinnamon rolls. Anyone who says so is lying, incorrect, and the Baker's Heart has better ones.
My goodness!
Mm-hmm.
Such strong words!
I'm right, and I know it.
And to think that the Painted Lady was the one who catered this event.
Well,
I'll make
good
sure.
For them. Good for them. I know I have family that works there. And he does give a cheeky wave out to the audience to Leo, and that wave turns into flipping off Leo. He loves his brother so much.
Mike writes a note to make sure that the next catering event will come from that bakery you mentioned, and hands it over to one of the stage hands, the invisible stage hands that just have floating gloves, and they take it. I definitely have to try it. Now, as far as I understand it, you've been in plenty of heists, from hospitals to casinos, obviously. But tell me, what is your funniest heist? Past, present, future, if you want to talk about it.
Star's the funniest one. Well, I can't exactly share the funniest one.
Oh, we definitely can.
Oh, Jeez, that involves identities that should not be shared. Unfortunately, that I am not at liberty to disclose. But let's just say there was a beholder involved, and perhaps a grand piano shoved into someone's hammer space.
I am quite aware of which one you're talking about. Sadly, my audience, this is not my story to tell.
No. He looks so smug about it. He looks so proud of this heist, but he's like, can't show that. Because that, out of character talking, that involves several phantom thieves who may or may not be present, whose identities he cannot speak on.
Mm-hmm. Now, I do believe they are with us tonight, but I would just like to ask, what is it like working for Mura's detective agency? You do a lot of underhanded work there, don't you?
Yes, well, they do need someone who's not exactly on the lawful side of the tracks. And we can't exactly have, an 8-year-old going and talking to criminals. Pointed look into the audience again.
You don't think you'll eventually get a reputation for selling out your fellow criminals?
Oh, I don't sell them out. No, I just gather particular info that regards the aberration, specifically. Keeping tabs on things, listening to the goings-on, rumblings here and there. I'm supposed to know things. if I were to jeopardize those relationships, why, I'd be no good at my job at all.
Of course, of course. Speaking of relationships, I do understand that we've did a little bit of research, and there's a certain someone that's caught your eye, hasn't there, Juby? And there's a scene of Juby holding a sword up to D-Line's throat, and want to share with us?
Oh, good memories. Ah, yes, my dearest Dell. Well, what do you want to hear about them, aside from the fact that they're quite marvelous and wonderful, and I adore them with my entire heart?
Oh, all the juicy details, please. Although, make sure to keep it PG-13. We do have children.
Well, he does dramatically go well, and then just kind of zips his lips. I'm not one to kiss and tell.
Hold up. Another one. Now, Juby, I do believe we're reaching the end of the interview. So I'll ask before I ask my final question. Is there anything you'd like to add for the audience out there? Obviously, I hope you understand that this is not a dream and they will remember everything.
Well. And he thinks a bit, pausing, no, I can't particularly think of anything. Well, aside from the fact that if they try to hold any of this over my head, I'll know.
Quite. Now, for my final question. In the past couple of years, Juby, you've gotten yourself in quite a bit from your old round of heist. Hospitals, all the way to paradise. To quote-unquote, even magical therapy. You've been brought along, saved, beaten, and literally died by narrative. And examples of all of this going on go onto the screen.
Oh yeah. There's a lot. There is a hospital heist. There's one. The heist in a hospital is quite comical. There's a horse in the hospital. And they're fighting a peacock, and there's two of the audience members you can see are helping in the fight, and there's this young doll girl that's just pushing a bunch of buttons on this random machine. There's another adventure that shows a lot of the audience members just are here in all of these. A fight in this forest that's ablaze against this bird dragon. It looks like a bird, but it's fire. That they're facing down, and let me see something real quick. Yeah. Hee-hoo. And then
sorry, everybody, technical difficulties.
You're good. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then speaking of more magical therapy, there's a dragon that shows up. It looks like the screen goes awash with this thick black ink, and then the click of a spotlight shines down on, once again, a very extravagantly dressed Jubilee who is in a pink spotlight on the screen with this giant dragon construct looming over him as he stands like a performer on a stage before Tome, Moria, and Lynn, stagehand, in those scenes. And all that sort of plot shenaniganery.
So again, brought along, saved, beaten, and literally died by the narrative.
Yes, that one. He does glance at the screen, and thankfully nothing is shown, but what does flick on the screen is a city that is small. You could almost mistake it for the ruins of Requiem, but no, it's not quite. There's a lot of birds here, very colorful, and seems like it's been repaired, but there's blast and fire damage on most of the buildings, and not a lot of people. But that's there. And that particularly pops up when Mike mentions having died by the narrative.
So, for my last question is, why do you think the plot is like this? You specifically?
Do you want the long answer or the short answer?
I think everybody would appreciate the long answer.
Oh, stars, we'd be here for several hours. I can get into monologuing. But
medium answer, then.
Fair, medium answer. In truth, I don't know. I could say I'm the narrative's one of its favorite little jesters. But I suppose I just have that sort of luck to stumble into things. It just happens. I happen to be in a particular place at the right or wrong time consistently, and
never step on a train.
Ugh. I technically shouldn't, but it's the best way to get around. It really is.
Really? Those the wings don't work for you?
Oh, they do. But nothing really beats the scenery when you're just riding on a train. For one, it's hardly as much work. I do have to keep myself aloft in the air when I'm flying.
As you say, watching the scenery pass by on the train, Mike actually looks out towards the window behind them that is slightly too... that is not clear enough to see. It's opaque. At best, it looks like a night sky seen through like the fucking the Starry Night painting. But it's too blurry. And he says, I think I understand.
Well, I'm glad at least someone does, because I have no idea.
Oh, well, I do believe that ends our interview for today. Thank you so much for joining me, Jubilee. Honestly, you have been one of the most least apprehensive.
Well, you've given me a chance to monologue about myself. It's honestly, I'm my favorite topic. I don't know why I wouldn't.
You really were a villain once, I will say that.
People would argue with you.
Again, I would say once. That's growth. But with that, he stands over to the side to go shake your hand as the main theme begins playing outwards. He begins working you towards stage left. As he just said, like, great job, really good presentation. Amazing charisma as well.
And Juby will walk off with Mike and give another wave to everybody. And we'll have a update and then very quickly make his exit. Oh boy. There's conversations.
And as you do, that is the end of the FPS. Thank you so much. You get to keep the dress, obviously.
Yay! Fashion.
Yeah, but whatever Yubi was doing previously, he returns to. So he walks out of stage left and back into stage left on the other
leaves
amphitheater.
leaves the live stage, comes back onto the empty stage, and is just like, well, my practice has been thoroughly interrupted. Fuck.
But with that, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, not Juby. Thank you, Noodle, for joining me for an interview. This is a lot of fun. I love summarizing characters like this because this is a great summary for the characters.
Yay! Thank you for letting me throw my horrible, terrible, dumb bird at you.
Of course. And with that, I'm going to stop recording.